Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir.
Okay.
Dear participants, we have eminent personality, Dr. Pradyumna Ghosh, who is currently working as a professor in IIT Varanasi. I would like to introduce, sir, that Dr. Pradyumna Ghosh, sir, is, as I say, professor at Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Varanasi. He has a work experience of more than 20 plus years, which includes working at TERI, which is Tata Energy Research Institute, graduate research assistant at University of Maryland, USA, programmer analyst at Infosys Technology Limited, Bangalore, India. His area of interest includes heat transfer, CFD, nanofluids, microgravity fluid physics, and porous media flow. He is also an associate editor of website Open Aerospace Engineering Journal. Sir has guided 6 PhD students and more than 17 MTech students. He has numerous research projects to his credits, which has got funding from various reputed organizations. He has many achievements, mainly include he is currently expert committee member in DST, also nominated from India by ISRO for Frank J. Mellina Astronautics Medal in 2006, Astronautic Medal 2016. Sir is currently chairman of Design Review Committee of HAL Lucknow for Positive Displacement Pump for Aerospace Industry since 2012 to 2017. Reviewer of JPM, the Journal of Porous Media, ASME Journal of Heat Transfer, Journal of Energy, International Journal of Thermal Science, etc. He is also a editorial board member of American Journal of Nanoscience and Engineering, recent advances in fluid mechanics also. On basis of development of an advanced solar hybrid adsorption cooling system for decentralized storage of agriculture product in India, the TERI Tata Energy Research Institute and DLR, which is German aerospace establishment, collaborative INCO-DC project funded by European Commission DG12 in 1996-97. And based on this project, the country program on solar cooking has been started across the country. So, sir, it is our opportunity to hear your session. So, sir, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sheth. Such a extroverted introduction. So today I'll start with my presentation. Basically, some CFD application on using nanofluids for solar collectors. So I have coined my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So CFD on nanofluids for potential application on liquid solar flat plate collectors. And CFD, you know, it's an acronym of computational fluid dynamics. Nanofluids, it's we'll see in during the presentation, and how we can use that for solar flat plate collector. Eventually, these days it's not that like you have come across some new collectors. So how we can make it some novel collector which is a cheap and can be created for various application. So the learning objective, this is I was told that this is a kind of a FDP, or so the learning objective will be for this session. We will try to answer this question, that is it possible to use nanofluids in the primary circuit of a solar liquid flatbed collector, and use of traditional finite difference, finite volume, and or finite element based CFD solver to predict the nanofluid transport reasonably. First, let's see. So these are the two learning objective for this session. First, let's see that what are the issues in thermal engineering today. So if you just try to jot it down, then the environmentally efficient and environmentally responsible, cost effective, compact device to energy security of today. Okay. So here I have mentioned that this may not be the other aspects of the for this FDP, but heat exchangers, boilers, nuclear reactors, automobile, wherever there is a thermal energy is getting transferred or utilized, material processing, the heat sinks, and solar thermal also, you know, for roller. So what is the remedy? So we have to make it more efficient as well as environmentally responsible. So how we can achieve that? So we have to search for new working fluids which has a better thermophysical characteristics, better surface heat transfer with a low pressure drop. This is the two keywords. You can get a better surface heat transfer, but with a low pressure drop, and we have to balance between these two, like what is the heat transfer augmentation and what is the pressure drop you are it's causing, and how we can make it cost effective and reliable. So these are the some issues and concerns in thermal engineering today. Let's see now that what is a solar water heating system, or what is a nanofluid. We have been talking about nanofluid. So nanofluids is nothing but a colloidal dispersion of nanometer size particle present in the liquid like water, ethylene glycol, etc., called nanofluid. So you have a small particles, very small, nanometer size, like that means 10 to the power minus 9 meter size, which you can't see in naked eyes. That is dispersed in a liquid. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is dispersed in a liquid water, ethylene glycol. Generally, it's used that water, ethylene glycol, etc. And this is called nanofluids. It's a new coining, and why it's not air? Because air, you know, or the any gas has a lesser conductivity. What people say that nanofluids, actually these nanoparticles will have a higher conductivity, and it will give you a cumulative better conductive transport media. So if you use air is a very poor conductivity, is used as an insulator, all we know. But the problem is that the density, the buoyant force is not sufficient to withstand that nanoparticle or agglomerated nanoparticle, because water density is less. It's 1000 kg for water and air is 1.12 kg. So the water is much heavier, 1000 times heavier than the, so buoyant force also will be much more in case of water or ethylene glycol or any liquid, you say. So that is the reason it's not used, and there are some nanoscale phenomena are also there, but it's not used. Basically, that is the reason that buoyant force are not sufficient to withstand this. Otherwise, it will agglomerate and settle down in the duct wall. Now, nanofluids are known for its better heat removal quality, and so the idea comes, why not to use nanofluid in the place of deionized water or normal mineral water, or normal water, whatever we use in day-to-day life. Generally, aluminium, silicon, these are some oxide-based nanofluids, which experimentation has been for lighter weight and availability, reliability, etc. These are all available commercially. Aluminium oxide nanoparticles and silica oxide nanoparticle, titanium oxide, all these are nano size particles are commercially available. And if you use in very low concentration to avoid the agglomeration, like nanoparticles are not going to agglomerate, so those aspects are also going to be addressed if you use in very low concentration, like 0.01, 0.001 volume by volume. But that also gives you a significant enhancement in the heat transfer characteristics. Now let's see a typical solar water heating system, which will have a collector array, and there is a pump which is circulating the water, and ultimately it going to a storage tank, and the hot water is taking place, going for a use. And there are some vents and cold storage, makeup water, etc. And there are some auxiliary heater when there is a not water is not available, so sun is not available, so you can use those heaters or auxiliary system. What I am trying to say is that instead of this heater, if you put a heat exchanger there and you pass the nanofluid instead of water, and there will be a primary circuit, the nanofluid will be basically in this primary circuit. It will not come in the contact of the water, because just put a heat exchanger here, and one side will be water, one side will be nanofluid. The water will be getting heated with the heated nanofluid, and that hot water will be supplying to the use. Okay, so that is the whole idea of this solar collector primary circuit. You use a nanofluid. Why? That is the like a major question. Why? If you see the temperature distribution of a flat plate collector, generally these are the tubes. Okay, these are the tubes where the water is flowing, and this is braced with a collector absorber plate where the solar radiation is falling, and there will be a top cover, etc. To minimize the loss, and there will be insulation around it. Now, if you see the heat transfer point of view wise, there are two aspects. You have maybe 4, 5, 7, depends on the collector design. You have such tubes are there, and it's taking the fluid, taking the heat from the plate, and due to the fin effect, and getting the water is getting heated. Now you see the maximum temperature wherever we are going to get, that is somewhere here between these two tubes. And from your fin knowledge, means we can't utilize this maximum temperature where it is taking place. Okay, if you can optimize this distance, but you can change the flow rate. This optimum will come, the maximum will come here between these two tubes only. Okay, but we can't put a new tube here, then again it will, the optimum will come between these two. Okay, the degree of temperature may reduce, but it will, we are not able to utilize the where the maximum is going to come. So there is a requirement of a novel collector design. Okay, how we can do that? Earlier it was not possible because of the miniaturization was not that available when it was designed, etc., etc. But we, as we know from our basic heat transfer class, rather than a single fin, more number of fins. These are all fins. These are all fins because radiation, then conduction, then convection. These are all fins. Okay. So fins. So if we use more number of fins instead of a single fin, then it will be much more efficient. So we can remove more amount of heat, which will eventually increase my efficiency of the collector, but at most probably in a little bit higher pressure drop. So in a forced circulation, we have seen that for pressure drop is not that concerned, means amount of energy saving you are doing instead of boiler or any other primary energy use. It's not that concern whatever pumping power we are, because anyway it's so liquid we are pumping. So my proposal is that we can use some kind of mini channel. What is a mini channel? We'll see that in the later part of the mini channels is the 3 millimeter less than 3 millimeter diameter. Eventually it will increase the pressure drop, but so the combined effect will be better. So the temperature distribution in the flat plate collector, we can utilize the maximum temperature zone using more number of tubes using a mini channel, because your space area is kind of limited. Mini channels means less than 3 millimeters, so more number of fins are going to be attached with the plate. So why we are so fascinated about that? The reason is that we have done some kind of thermodynamics and heat transfer analysis. Say this is with the efficiency parameter for a flat plate solar collector for various flow rates, that is 0.5 to 2, the efficiency becomes 48% to 52%, and this is for normal water flow rate. Okay. Now, if you are using percentage, same mass flow rate, but percentage concentration of aluminum oxide nanofluids, this efficiency is going to go for 54%, so almost 15% increase. Almost 15% increase. That means that you are going to enhance the performance with the 16%. If you include the there is no mini channel, just the normal tube. We have used the nanofluids. So nanofluids can be a potential candidate for if you use that in a primary circuit, and eventually you will get a better performance in the order of 15%. Okay. Now in this presentation, the main objective was CFD and how we can utilize the nanofluid performance using a mini channel that we have seen. One is your heat transfer, pure heat transfer perspective. We are changing the number of fins, more number of fins we are getting to attached with a cost of higher pressure drop, as well as we are changing the working fluid. Now, if you, before you do an experiment, you have to do some kind of analysis so that you are sure that your design is correct, your the calculations are correct. So these days, without CFD is an effective tool now, the or not, so that we have to find it out. So it maybe looks little bit negative wise, because I have posed the question, is CFD is an effective tool for nanofluid transport? The reason is traditional CFD will find difficulty. because all we know is that traditional CFD based on continuum hypothesis. And this continuum hypothesis for a nanoparticle size, just for example, all we know that the boundary layer thickness is in the millimeter level, but that means 10 to the power minus 3. We are talking about the particle 10 to the power minus 9. So if the 100 particles also add together like agglomerated situation, then also it will not be able to do anything in the boundary layer, because 100 into 10 to the power 9, it will be 10 to the power minus 7. It's much smaller than the millimeter level. So it's just like it can puncture, but it will not be able to do anything. It can't shear off. Okay. So the remedy is, that was the one question, but generally people use some kind of homogeneous mixture concept, like if you are making it ultrasonicate and magnetic stirrer or all these things, if you use and then flow it, but during flow you are not be able to ensure that it's a homogeneous mixture. Okay. So in a homogeneous mixture, in homogeneous mixture, actually, if you take any sample from any particular zone in a space or any space-time variable, then it should be behaving the same. It's not going to change. So if you are taking at x equal to 0.1, x equal to 0.2, x equal to 0.3 at t equal to 1 second, 2 second, it will not be able to change. The homogeneity is not going to. So the particles and the fluid is in a local thermal equilibrium. There is no heat transfer as such from the particle and the liquid molecules. Okay. Now, single phase, like there are distinguishingly, you have given some solid particles, which is eventually nanos level, nanometer size level, but there is a two phase distinguishingly. Okay. So that can be one possibility. And one possibility is you consider that you have well mixed solid situation, that is a homogeneous model. Now, in a single phase or two phase model, for single phase heat transfer itself, like there is no two phase heat transfer, we are not making liquid to vapor or vapor to liquid. Normal single phase heat transfer, the two phase modeling is possible or not, and then we will see some case studies, whatever we have done in our lab, and some students has performed their thesis, etc. So we'll see that for a liquid flatbed collector using mini channels. Now, already we have seen that is a 15% enhancement for the solar flatbed collector, and this is to be interesting, that baseline kg of CO2 per kilowatt hour production. Now, it is a 15% reduction in that also. Like its calculation is something like this, that you are using primary fuel or coal or gas or oil to burn that amount of power, and if you use an electric heater to heat that geyser or something like that, so then you are reducing. So straightly you can get a 15% off if you are using a solar water heating system. As I was telling, the continuum hypothesis is applicable because one particle is in nanometer scale, another particle is a micron level. So is that is a order of magnitude difference. Like if you want to model the earthquake or any other this kind of situation where is a big, so large scale or ocean flow. So this is a large scale phenomenon. Continuum hypothesis is applicable or not, that is a question. That really CFD is based on continuum hypothesis. The continuity has to be validated. Like if you go to space, like where there is a little atmosphere, then the CFD will not work. You have to use some kind of statistical model for doing that. So similarly here, there is such a large scale difference of the two species. Like one is nanometer level, one is a few micron level, or the boundary layer forms is millimeter level. So is it possible to continuum hypothesis? But surprisingly, the homogeneous mixture gives a decent result with the experiments. Now, another question is that Brownian motion is basically random behavior. These nanoparticles, how it is going to be mixed, these are the random behavior of the particles. It behaves like a erratic way, and you don't know in a nanoparticle first of all it's very small and it's behaving the Brownian motion wise. So another issue is the thermophoresis, the Soret effect. The Soret effect is nothing but it's the the temperature. Like once we say, for example, we want to differentiate between the two heavy, one heavy particle and one small density particle. Then we put that in centrifuge, so the density difference, the centrifugal action, once will settle down, once will not settle down. So here also the force we are giving, the temperature depends on the same concentration level. The nanoparticle may behave differently, and the water molecule will behave differently with the same temperature gradient. Okay. And turbulent flow, the scales are different because we are taking it too complex. If you are using a turbulent flow, the turbulent eddy scales and the nanoparticle scales, these are two different scales. Okay, so you can't actually compare these two things together. I'll show you some very interesting result. That if you are taking a turbulent region, the nanoparticle may not be very good in behavior. Okay, and so you have to restrict ourselves in land. At least the Brownian motion part will not be very active, because then if you recall your basic turbulent class, that there is a fluctuation, and in Brownian motion also there will be a fluctuation. So what scale we have to select? So these things we have to be very careful and do that. And multi-phase flow is like nanoparticle, and within the nanoparticle there will be some interaction. Within the nanoparticle and the wall there will be some interaction. Nanoparticle with the your fluid, there will be some interaction. So these things has to be considered. So what coupling model we will take, we'll see that in a few minutes. That we are the major issues. So what we basically started with, that continuum hypothesis is applicable or not, Brownian motion, how we can model Brownian motion, the nanoparticles, then thermophoresis, because this is the temperature dependent concentration change. So turbulent flow, the scales are different of the your EDs are formed, and your whatever the nanoparticles size are there. If it is agglomerated also, it's much smaller. And the multi-phase flow, like nanoparticle and interaction between among the nanoparticles, interaction among the nanoparticle and the wall of the duct, and as well as interaction between this nanoparticle and the fluid. Okay. So remedies are, I have been talking about, this is a homogeneous model, okay, or two-phase model. Like in a homogeneous model, we consider that nanoparticle and the water is in the same local thermal equilibrium. Okay, the properties are not changing at some space time. So it's, if you take at x equal to, the properties are going to be same. So it's in local thermal equilibrium. The Brownian motion is nothing but the random behavior of that, and his random model can be modeled traditionally. Just the random walk, etc. models are there, but for nanoscale it is applicable or not, that we are not very sure. Now, properties of change in the concentration, change in the boiling rate. We are not concerned about the boiling or two-phase phenomenon now. So we have to only concern that how among the nanoparticles it will how it will interact, and how it will interact between nanoparticles and the liquid, and how it will interact between nanoparticle and the wall of the duct. So if you take properties of the nanoparticle, this is comes from the basically mass balance. Okay, this is a specific heat from the first law of thermodynamics. Viscosity is basically experimental data or some kind of correlations are there, and thermal conductivity has different, like people have observed that thermal conductivity, basically the Brownian motion affects the thermal conductivity very much. So BF is nothing but the base fluid, NF is the nanofluid. So if we just read this is the density of the particle and the concentration level and the density of the fluid, and 1 minus concentration level. The specific heat is rho p, the particle density, and the specific heat of the particle and the concentration, plus rho f, the fluid, and this is going to come like that. Or you can take this one also, rho p phi. You want to make it mass specific, then you can make it like this. Viscosity is basically modification of the Einstein correlation, and there are several such thermal conductivity models are there. But what I want to emphasize is that latest the Kuh and Christopher proposed considering the Brownian motion. The conductivity is very much affected with that. So if you take this concentration level 0.01 and less than 0.0, these are all volumetric concentrations, volume by volume, and these greater than 0.01, so this beta value is going to change, and you can put that in Kp is K particle, Kf is the fluid, the K thermal conductivity of the particle, Kf is the thermal conductivity of the fluid, and you can use this correlation. T is the temperature. So temperature, concentration, all these things has been Brownian motion, everything has been considered in this correlation, and you can properly calculate, and then you can fit that in a through a homogeneous model. The suspended, hello,
Yes, sir.
hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Okay, should I restart?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this single phase or homogeneous model is basically suspended particles based on the fluid. This is in local thermal equilibrium, and we can model it in such a way the thermophysical properties are changing and relative velocity is zero between the solid and fluid particles. The transport equations are written using effective properties. So if you can model flow through a tube, you can model most probably using homogeneous model. So only change you have to homogeneous model if you, for a nanoparticles or nanofluid, you only changing the transport properties. What are those properties? Thermal conductivity, viscosity, specific heat, and density. So I'll give you an example. Like if you are using a user-defined function in ANSYS Fluent or any other like CFX or StarCD, there are always options to write your own function for properties in ANSYS, any this kind of commercial software, then what you can do is you can just put these equations in written in C, and I am talking about ANSYS Fluent. It has to be written in C, and you have to compile it, and then you can basically use like your normal pipe flow or tube flow, those situations for nanofluid also. So just imagine a situation you have been simulating in CFD. I think you have learned by this time that you are taking a tube and then you put a boundary condition there, the heat transfer also taking place, and flow boundary condition like velocity inlet and pressure outlet or whatever, depends on the no slip at the wall. So those boundary conditions, so all these things will remain same, except the user defined function in the where you mention the material properties. There you should use these correlations: density, specific heat, viscosity, and whatever thermal conductivity. If you want to use the like Maxwell doesn't consider the Brownian motion, but this Kuh and Kensteuer is considered a Brownian motion. So the just Brownian motion effect will be more considerable, more significant in case of conductivity. So if you just use this correlation written in C, just this formula, and you have to use these function calls. Basically conductivity, you can't write K, whatever the software gives you the function calls, so you have to match those variables according to that. Okay, just like if it is a thermal underscore conduct or something like that. Okay, so it gives you a decent result. Now, as I was telling, that there is a lot of controversy between that these are the nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles are going to be different species. Obviously, it's a solid particle and there is a liquid, and so this will be the water will be the means dispersed phase, and the nanoparticle will be like this in this phase, and there is in a single phase there is no phase change of this dispersed phase. So we can use this as a two particle, like what kind of coupling between these phases. Like if there is a one-way coupling, that means sufficiently dilute that fluid feels no effect of presence of particles, and particles move in dynamic response to the fluid motion. In a two-way coupling, the nanoparticles or the any other particles is a generic concept. So these particles will have a inner particles momentum exchange between the dispersed and the carrier phase of the interfaces, and that means that fluid and these particles are going to have the momentum exchange, etc. Now, four-way coupling is that among the particle there is a change, among the fluids are also changed. So 2 to 4, this is going to be so aerodynamic drag, etc. you are going to take. But my question is that if you have the nanoparticle in this way, it's a millions of nanoparticles also. If you give, this is not going to change the momentum transfer, because boundary momentum transfer, then only it will possible, because if the boundary layer is going to be get affected, okay, boundary layer is not going to be effective. I just told 10 to the power minus 9 and more millimeter, few 1 to 2 millimeter is the thickness of the boundary layer. So if you make some 10 lakh such particles together, then only it will be able to cut the boundary layer. So it's not possible. Generally, in a diluted situation, you will get only the one-way coupling. That fluid is flowing, and your particle, and there is no change in the momentum due to the fluid presence in the bulk motion of the fluid. Okay. And it's surprisingly that there is a people consider, there are some papers and my students also worked with that they consider a two-phase modeling where there is a slip velocity between the nanoparticles and the fluid. And there are ways that you can calculate that. There is a lot of literature on that also, that there is a slip velocity. The slip velocity means that at the wall there will not be the same velocity. We can we know that velocity at the wall for the fluid will be 0, but there will be of some velocity of the nanoparticles. So the difference of that is going to be called as a slip velocity. Okay, so these slip velocity are really appreciable. So that is the question mark. And generally what they do in a two-phase modeling is that continuity, momentum, energy will be written for the mixture. Only you are considering for the wall that the slip velocity exists, and that you have considered like no slip instead of no slip, you are considered that some slip velocity exists between the nanoparticles and the fluid. Okay, but is surprisingly the continuity, momentum, energy, they'll be considered as a homogeneous mixture or a mixture model. So your continuity equation, momentum equation, energy equation, anyway you will be written in homogeneous model, where you will be modifying these properties in your material property section of the commercial software with a user defined function, and only the slip velocity has to be considered between the nanoparticles and the fluid. Okay, these are the two-phase modeling people have considered as of now. But my recommendation is, I am not very sure. Fundamentally, I don't understand that much that why there is like all we know that continuity, momentum, and energy, that will give you the continuity and momentum give you the velocity field, energy will give you the temperature field, and the pressure velocity and means velocity and pressure, and that energy will give you the temperature or enthalpy field. So if you are using a mixture, then what is the point of doing that? You will get some 1 to 10% change in the result, but sometimes it erratically behaves, sometimes is more than experiment also, means that we have found. So I am not very found reliable until unless you have a lot of concentration, more than 5%, 8% concentration of nanofluids. Don't use this two-phase model. That is my recommendation. Use single phase mixture, homogeneous mixture model only. Very simple. If you know how to model your normal water flow or normal air flow, then instead of that you just use this mixture properties, the way you put that water properties. The similarly way you have to write your own user defined function and key in those expression whatever you feel that comfortable, because the every expression has a range of applicability. So this applicability has to be there. Okay. Now what is mini channel? Remember what we have started, that there are two-prong approach. One, we are changing the working fluid, and as well as we are using some more number of fins in a solar flat plate collector. So that will eventually the same diameter tube can be used. So you have to use a lesser diameter tube, that 3 millimeter less than that, we call it the mini channel. Okay, it's not micron, it's a mini. So these are some mini channels, 1.41 internal diameter, 0.87 internal diameter, and 0.71 internal diameter. This has been developed in our lab. It's nothing similar like capillary. If you use a capillary tube, this will be the same. You can machine it also. Now, instead of microparticles, why nanoparticles are better? Because we found a lot of problem. It's got agglomerated and choked, basically, where we have put these these pressure probes to measure the pressure drop across this length, and then the temperature we are taking from the outside with some thermocouples, but the pressure tapping there's a lot of agglomeration, and then we found a lot of difficulty to make it clean always, because it's a very small amount diameter, so you have to use a hairpin kind of device to clean it. Nanoparticles has a lesser chance to because means the particle size is small, so it will be dispersed over the entire fluid phase. And microparticles, this will be due to the buoyancy difference or the much because the liquid will give the same buoyancy. If you are using the same size of particle, so you are going to same buoyancy, but it will have a more mass, so it will settle down in the so you just look at this is a nanoparticle situation. It's kind of dispersed, and in a particles which actually sink. Okay, so chances of agglomeration is more. So this is like a very old experimental setup. Some students have done in 2009 or 10 something. That was the mini channel. Whatever you have seen, that we had some nanoparticle, and we are mixing this nanoparticle with some starer and passing that and measuring the pressure drop, etc. Temperature monitoring, etc. is taking place. Okay. The Nusselt number, if you take the Nusselt number, this Nusselt number for water, for this zone, like if you are taking a constant heat flux region in a laminar zone, this is going to give you around 4.67. So we got almost 4.6, near about 4.5, that experimentally as well as numerically. Okay, so this is a laminar zone. If you are taking a constant heat flux situation, then we are going to get the same kind of situation. One thing you have to understand, that Nusselt number will be same, but the heat transfer coefficient will be higher for the mini channel. The reason is that if you write HD by K, the Nusselt number equal to average Nusselt number is equal to HD by K, then diameter is small, so the heat transfer coefficient becomes more. So if it is a 3 millimeter tube and your Nusselt number is 4.7, then obviously from the normal tube, you are getting the same Nusselt number. You are going to get a more heat transfer coefficient in case of smaller tubes. Now these are some friction factor which will having a 2% of aluminium oxide with the nanofluid. These are the experimental results. The friction factor. This is basically following 64 by Reynolds number. Just hyperbola, rectangular, hyperbola nature of curve, and this is computationally and experimentally. We have both. It's the same trend. And the computation was done considering a homogeneous mixture, considering the modifying the material properties, and to some extent we have considered the Brownian motion also. Now, if I use a 0.87 millimeter ID tube, the 2% aluminum oxide water nanofluid, you see the experimental NU is more. The computational NU is the Nusselt number with the Reynolds number is almost the same laminar or little bit of transition zone, because the boundary layer squeezing will be much earlier in case of smaller tubes. So you can expect that the transition, we didn't visualize that, so we can't say that this will be the transition, but literature says that in smaller tubes, the boundary layer squeezing, the boundary layer meets much earlier than the because the thickness will be same almost in the same flow properties, so it meets earlier, so the transition, so it may get a little transition zones also. So but you know, means once we are using the Brownian motion effect, the it's coming to the closer. Like if you are taking without Brownian motion, we are kind of under predicting the experimental result. But with the Nusselt number considering the Brownian motion, so Brownian motion is means is effective. And look at this curve. Look at this curve. When you are going to the more than 1,000, the difference is going to be more between this experimental and numerical work. So because the, as I said, that turbulent behavior was there when we didn't able to figure out that what kind of scale we are going to use. Okay. Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to ask anyone?
Pramit sir?
Anything you want to ask?
Pramit sir? Hello, Pramit sir? Just a minute, sir.
Should I start?
Yes, sir.
So what I was telling is that is the slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I was telling is that if you consider the Brownian motion, the way I have considered, I have shown you that expression for the thermal conductivity. So that is the only place you have to change. So whenever you are writing thermal conductivity one, you please write a small UDF with the function call whatever the your commercial software asks for it, like thermal conductivity is thermal underscore conductivity or viscosity or whatever. The same name you have to use. Otherwise, the same expression can be used, and you will see that it's closer to the experimental results. Is closer to the experimental result, like this blue and this black one is closer to the experimental result. So earlier, if I don't consider the Brownian motion, then we are under predicting the experimental result. Okay. But nanofluids has some problems. It looks very attractive as well as the pressure drop is also not that high. Like if I go back to my friction factor, the experimental, it's almost same. Water and is 64 by Reynolds number, so it will not change much. Diluted 2% aluminum oxide, but it gives you an enhancement fairly good enough. Like if you see that was 4.7, here you are getting 5.2, and when you get the heat transfer coefficient, it will be more than 30% change in the heat transfer coefficient. Okay. But nanofluids have some problems like lack of stability for a longer time, aggregation of nanoparticle due to stronger van der Waals force between the particles, sedimentation can happen due to the gravitational field, reaction particles with the base fluid compatibility, and enhanced viscosity for the nanofluid creates extra pressure drop, but this is not going to be the case in our case. So whatever we have proposed, the more pumping power due to the extra pressure drop is not going to be the case in case of a solar flat plate collector. So in a solar flat plate collector, we can take a two-prong approach that use a smaller number of smaller tubes, and that will give you a more number of fins to operate with a slightly increase in the pressure drop, but the efficiency is going to go like anything. If you use a nanofluids, if you use a 15% enhancement, and if you use a more mini channel, that will be a 30% kind of enhancement in the efficiency. Okay, with this, so whatever I have started, my objective was that to use a CFD. The first objective was that the CFD, can we use traditional CFD for that? So we found out a remedy that okay, we can do with the homogeneous model, and I suggested for the homogeneous model where there is no coupling for that. The nanoparticle and the base fluid is in the homogeneous state in the local thermal equilibrium, and it can be easily implemented in any commercial software. And if you use a mini channel, then the mini channel will gives you a better fin efficiency and better collector efficiency in a flat plate collector. With this, I am ending my presentation, and I'll be more than happy if there is any question, and I'll ready to answer.
So if you have any questions, so you can ask.
Any place we had 25-27 slides. Any place you want to me go back, or I made it most probably a little hurry, but if you want to make go back and explain, I'll be more than happy.
So dear participant, if you want to ask questions, so please go ahead.
It's a short-term course, right, Professor Sheth?
Yes, sir. It's a short-term program, training program, where the faculty members are there across Gujarat and outside Gujarat also.
Okay.
And it was really a nice lecture delivered related to the nanofluids used and the computational fluid dynamics applications in the nanofluids. And thank you very much for sir spending your valuable time and sharing your knowledge with our participants. If any questions from the audience side, then definitely you can ask. It seems that there is no questions, and if any questions will be there in later on also, then you can ask to me so that we can forward it to the concerned speaker.
There is a question, Sachin Gupta. I just want to know. Please go ahead, Sachin Gupta. Okay, let me check the chat box. Most probably he is giving that in the chat box.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. बोलिए, Dr. Sachin. Homogeneous model, the dispersed model. That's what I was focusing from. Okay, okay. I'll type. See, Dr. Gupta, I told you several times and or all of the participants that nanoparticle is the nanometer size particle. Okay. Now, once you are boundary layer, if you know it's a millimeter level. This sleep. So if you have a 10 lakhs of such particles accumulate, definitely it can puncture the boundary layer. Okay. So the sleep, and in this two-phase model, actually, your the momentum, the continuity, and the energy equation is for your homogeneous model. Only you are giving the sleep velocity, SLIP sleep, the sleep velocity to the nanoparticles and the fluid, which will acting as a in the wall, because wall in the homogeneous given no sleep and there will be a sleep. So that is very much, no, except boundary condition, the governing equations are all same for the homogeneous model, because momentum, continuity, and the energy you are writing for the mixture model. Only the bond, except of the no sleep at the wall, you are writing a sleep velocity at the wall. Okay, so I am not very much convinced, although people are publishing results and my own students also did for a complicated geometry, but to be very honest, my suggestion is that please use homogeneous model. Any other
Okay.
question? Any other question?
Okay, thank you, sir. I think there is no
Okay.
questions from the audience side.
Okay.
And if anybody else is having questions, then definitely they can send it to us. We will forward to the concerned speaker and try to know the answer from them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for spending your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.